In this video, I'm going to show you how to set an image as the background for your book. You can do this one of two ways. The first is just like you inserted the background color, you can go to Design, Page Color, Fill Effects, select Picture, and then simply look for the picture on your computer. Then I've got some pictures saved here. I'm just going to scroll down. I'm going to grab this one, which is just a woods scene. Click Insert. Click OK. And the picture is now the background of your book. Now, if I'm happy with the picture being in this position and looking just like it looks, I'm done. However, I'm not. I'd like to move that image around. I'd like to do some color correction. Well, the problem there is if you insert it as a background, you can't do anything to that image. So now I'm going to show you the way that I do it that will give you much more flexibility. Let's just do a Control Z to move back. Now we're going to go to Insert, Pictures. And I'm going to find my woods scene. There it is. And I'm going to click Insert. It has inserted it as an image. Now, I still have to take another step to be able to move it, because what happens is Word inserts the picture. It's wider than the document, so I can't do anything to it. So what I have to do is right-click, Wrap Text, Behind Text. And you'll remember in the last video I had to do this when I inserted those rectangles to be able to move them. So once I've done that, Word will then let me do whatever I want, because the image is no longer controlled by the text layer. Again, Word is a layered software, and text is always going to be at the top of the layer, the priority. But by doing Wrap Text, Behind Text, I now have the freedom to place the image anywhere I want. I can also size it. Simply grab it at the corner and make it larger. Okay, so I have flexibility of position. I have flexibility of size. I can also do some things to the image itself. If I right-click the image, if I left-click on the image, I'll get a menu and I can choose Format Picture. And what this is going to do is bring up the tools that I can use to alter this picture. If I wanted to, I could put a shadow. I don't want to do this in this case because the shadow would be beyond the borders of the frame. I'm not worried about that. All right, so same way with reflection. If I wanted to make this image have a reflection of itself, I could do that. Again, I'm using this image as my background, so I don't really want to do any of these things. I don't want to really give it an outer glow. I don't want to soften the edges. We're going to look at these options much closer in the video about adding primary images. But what I can do is I can do some picture corrections. I've got my picture there, but what if I want to, say, lessen the sharpness? If I want to give it some blur, it's going to be an image in the background. I'm going to have other images on top of it. I want to give it a little blur. See how that gave it a blur? And you can change the amount of blur. You can make it much sharper. You can make it much more blurry. If you want, you just click Reset. It goes back to the normal. You can also change the brightness and contrast. They do have some presets, or you can use the sliders. If it's a little too bright, I can take it down a little bit. I'm going to do a Control Z just to go back so I can show you these. But if you scroll, it'll show you, okay, the brightness is the same, but it's 20% less contrast, etc., etc. You can play with these to get the look you want. The thing that I will typically do is I won't worry about changing any of this until I have all of my elements on the page. Meaning that if, let's say I'm going to put an image of a woman at the forefront and I'm going to add my title and my author name, I can come back later and change how this picture looks. So keep in mind, you can alter the sharpness, you can blur it, you can change the brightness, the contrast. You can also play with the color if you like, and what we're doing here is playing with two things, saturation and temperature. Saturation simply means how saturated is the color. And we have some presets here where I can wash it out a little bit if I like. I can wash it out a lot, almost taking all of the color out. I can make it much brighter, almost a poster effect. I can do just my normal saturation, and then I can change the color tone, and it goes by temperature from cold to hot. If I go to the temperature, the coldest one, it gives it kind of a blue tint. If I go to the hottest one, it gives it a much brighter tint. I'm going to reset that. I can also just recolor, meaning that I give the entire picture a wash of a different color. Let's say I want to use the images of the woods, but I want a blue cast as my background. You see this effect a lot on covers. What if I wanted an orange or yellow cast? I can get that here by recolor, and I can always go up and combine all of these things however I want them. So really, really flexible. You can also crop the picture. We're not going to worry about that because we are using this image as the background. So the big takeaway here is to use an image as the background. Make sure you insert picture. Once you have the picture inserted, in order to free it up from the constraints of the text, right-click, wrap text, behind text. And now you have the ability to move it around and do whatever you like. In fact, some of the backgrounds I use, I have one image, but I will use it for different books. For example, this could be the background of one of my books. I could move it over and change it. If I wanted to, I could make it much larger where you only see the trees. Let me demonstrate with another image. Let me remove this image. Go back to Insert, Pictures, and I'm going to get a different background, one that is not in the portrait style. We're going to insert this, and you see the image itself is not very large. Now remember, in order to move that image where I want it to go, I have to right-click, wrap text, behind text. Now I can move it, I can size it, I can do anything I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to size it. I'm just going to grab the corner and I'm going to shift so it constrains the proportions. And you can see now I've got a pretty cool image I could use as a background. This might be good for a ghost story or something, but I could use this for one book. I could then grab it and move it over. Maybe I'm doing a series and I want the covers to be similar. I don't want them to be identical, but I want them to be similar. I could use this one background for a half dozen books. And then I could always go over to my color correction, change it up where it's another cast, and I can change it for an entirely new set of books. So very versatile. Once you get your image in there, the flexibility you have to move and size the image really frees you up. You can use a single image as the cover of multiple books. So that concludes this lesson on how to insert an image to use in the background. In the next video, we will start adding more objects, more images to our file to continue creating our book. So if you have followed along and you have done what I've shown you here, you want to go ahead and save this file, and you can use it again and again with this same background image. We're going to use this to start building our ebook cover in the next video.